Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to talk more about some menu planning. I want to give you a rundown on how September ended up, how that's going to transition over to the next month, and then also give you my plan for October, which, if you're familiar, I'm going to be doing a no spend month. So a no spend month for menu planning is definitely different than your normal menu planning. So as you can see at the very beginning, I did change out my cover on my Erin Condren planner in excitement and preparation for October. So let's go ahead and open this up to September, and I will show you how that is working. So I would say the month was very successful. I do want to rank myself, give myself a B for a rating, and I will explain that. But the last time you saw this, I didn't have any decorations. I did go ahead and put some fall decorations here. I do like to, what I've noticed is to put some washi tape on the month or the days that don't apply for the month. So you can see that the month right here on where the days start and end, that's just a visual thing for me. And then keeping along with that, since I'm such a visual person, I've always done the whole reinforcements to mark off the days on my monthlies. Again, that's just completely a visual thing. It's very effective for me, so I continue to do it. I am using the Avery whole reinforcements for this month. Something that I've noticed in my planner journey is these are the fluorescent ones, which they're showing up kind of like nice normal colors, but these are the fluorescent ones, and I really don't like fluorescents. That's what have come to the conclusion of. For some reason, they are just really obnoxiously bright for my eyes. However, I do have these Avery circles to use up, so I do want to use what I have, so that's why I am using those. And as you can see, we're right here on the 29th, so I can give you a synopsis on the month. Then I also, a couple other changes is my husband ended up having to add 4 more days to out of town, so there's a little bit more washi for his travel. I also started checking off the meals that we actually made and did have. And as you can see, we ended up only probably doing about 2/3 of what I had planned, but that's okay. That's what the monthly is for, is just for a plan. Then when you go to your weeklies, that's when you kind of nail down and figure out what is going to work for each week and each day. So I'm perfectly happy with that. I feel like I did a really good job, not only having the plan, of course, but I feel like we did really well with using up our leftovers. I don't think we had maybe just one thing that spoiled, as well as just, I think, 2 ingredients that spoiled. So I think that's really, really good. I told you that we have a plan to go out to dinner once a month, so that's right here. I ended up having, for various reasons, 2 really bad health days, and I ended up grabbing something instead of trying to find something around the house. But as you know, when you don't feel well, you don't always think clearly mentally, so definitely some room for improvement, which is why I gave myself a B instead of an A. And then for various reasons, we didn't have these meals. Either we used up some of the ingredients for it. I think once or twice we ended up eating somewhere else with some other people. And then we did end up having a lot more leftovers than we thought, because you can't really, at least in my house, we don't really plan for leftovers. Sometimes we have more or less than I think that we're going to. You just never know, how hungry people are going to be and whatnot. So out of these meals, about 4 of these meals I'm going to be able to transfer over to October, which I'll show you in just a moment. So let me go to the weeks now. And when you have a plan, at least for me, the first week usually goes really well. This is exactly the day and the meal that I planned in correlation with the monthly. So the first week was perfect on that one. Second week is when, life starts happening. And as you can see, I had to, 3 out of the 7 meals I crossed off and had to do something else. And I have mentioned that I normally, on the weekly, I either plan a few days in advance or about half a week. Even with that, I still had to make changes, especially right here. Both of these days, it got to like the afternoon and something happened and I had to completely change my dinner plan. So that's why it was crossed off. That was slightly annoying to me with the crossing off. And so this week I ended up putting I started putting my menu on labels. Again, these are the Avery fluorescent labels. Orange is my color coding for food. So I used up all of the oranges, of course. And you can't see this, but I did have to move these around. These labels are repositionable, which is a great feature of them. And so I was able to move things around and really like them. I actually had some labels that didn't end up working for this week that I just put on the next week. So that was another good thing, I think, about the repositionable stickers. And then same thing on this week. What I started doing on this week on the side right here, since this is my family planner, I started putting, what I meant to say is this is my family planner instead of my personal planner, but I looked in my fridge and figured out the things that I felt like needed to be used sooner than later. I checked them off when I used them. The arrow is they were still good and I could move them over to the next week. And then the crossed off ones are the ones that I ended up, either they spoiled or I ended up just throwing them in the garbage because I wasn't going to use them. And then now we are to this week, which is right here, end of September, 1st of October. So I did the same thing over here on this one. Now let me show you October. I think I had mentioned, and I forgot to complete my thought in my original no spend video, that I was doing more than one challenge for October. And that's not because I'm awesome. I'm actually the opposite of that. I need to do challenges because I'm not awesome. So the no spend month, the Dave Ramsey financial YouTube community did a no spend in September. They also did a save $100 on groceries in September. I was already doing a no sugar challenge, which was kicking my butt. And I kind of have a rule with myself that only one kicking my butt challenge can happen per month. So, and I've also mentioned that October really is the month that we have decided as a family that's best for us. So that's why I didn't join in that, but I love that community. So the no spend month, as you can see, I have labeled here with my treasure chest to keep me motivated. Again, a little bit of decoration and then my husband's travel. I do need to add one more trip he just told me about, which that's just how we roll around here with his work. So he's going to be out of town 10 out of the 31 days. So that's kind of an average month for us. So my other challenges that I'm doing are the freezer and pantry challenge, which means you just eat all or as much as you can out of those and use that up, as well as doing a smoothie challenge. And there are several reasons for that. I feel like they really complement and correspond well with the no spend month. And with my situation, I have a completely full pantry, cupboards, I have 2 freezers. I got my normal one with my fridge, and then I have a chest freezer. So I have a lot of resources to draw from. In my freezers, especially, I have about 1/3 of my freezer is full of frozen fruit. I know, right? It's dumb, but that's why I wanted to do this smoothie challenge as well with the no spend, because it's going to help me with the freezer challenge as well. I also think with doing the smoothie challenge, I think maybe I've mentioned that our number one struggle with doing a no spend month is not necessarily the no spend, but it's really the fresh fruits and vegetables. We really, really have an issue with that, because that's such an important part of every part of our day. Like we eat a ton of that. So I feel like with doing the smoothie challenge that hopefully, cross my fingers, that getting the frozen fruit and some vegetables as well in the morning with the smoothies, that will help alleviate or possibly even eliminate the feeling that we have of being deprived with the fruits and the vegetables, because we'll be getting our nutrients that way, hopefully. That's my theory, and so I will let you know how that works out, but that's kind of my thinking with this. My number one resource for smoothies is Brendan Brazier's website, which if you don't know he is phenomenal. I 100% love that guy. He's vegan, vegetarian, which, that's whatever your choices are, it's fine. But he's got great smoothie recipes. So that's where I got the majority of my smoothie recipes. I would try to use up or incorporate the fruit that I have. So we'll see how that goes. Again, October's, like every month, is a plan, and then you just kind of roll with it for each week and each day. So that's how I got my breakfast. With the no spend month, I have found that you do need to plan every single meal, which normally for the months I just plan the dinners because I know I'll be able to go to the store and get, pick up bananas or whatever. So then that's another reason why I had to plan out the smoothies for breakfast. I started to do lunches, but then I realized, it's okay to have a few lunches planned, but for the most part, especially throughout the week, we just eat leftovers, or we just have, your standard sandwiches or whatever it is for lunch, or we're going out for business lunches. So I didn't really feel like I needed to plan the lunches like I thought I did originally. And then dinners, again, drawing from the resources that I have, that's how I came up with my dinners. It's also the end of my harvest season for my garden, so I was able to figure out how I could use that as well. I have a lot of spaghetti, squash, acorn, and my sugar pumpkins. So each week has one of each of those meals, so 3 essentially squash type meals, which may seem like a lot, but we love squash, so that's not going to be a problem. I also have 1 soup planned for each week. Then I also have a couple family favorites to kind of make it feel like we're not being deprived. And then, of course, with Halloween, we've got 2 family favorites that we always have for that season. That is jack-o'-lantern pizza and dinner and a pumpkin. We always have those every single year. So that's kind of how I came up with my menu plan for October. Like I said, it's just a little bit more detailed. You have to put just a teeny bit more thought into it, and then I had to plan my breakfast. I normally don't do this, but I started doing my grocery list on here. I don't take this with me to the grocery store, but it was just a convenient place to put the ingredients for these recipes that I was putting down. And this may seem like a lot, but if you kind of step back and look at it, this has less than 30 lines on it. So if I only need around 1 ingredient for each day, that's really not too shabby. And we all know that sometimes with recipes, there's just that one ingredient that can make or break a recipe. So that's kind of what these are over here. I will say that for the most part, of course, I have no shame in telling you I'm going on September 30th, which is tomorrow, to the grocery store to stock up our last stock up of fresh fruits and vegetables in preparation for No Spend October. So I will be picking up fresh fruits and vegetables. I have absolutely no meat or cheese, which my boys need that. So I am going to buy some of that as well. But for the most part, that's just what it is, what I need. So not really too much in my opinion. And like I said, just, 30 things to get me through an entire month worth of menu. I think that's really good. So that is how I planned for October. Pinterest was really my best friend, I would say, for meal planning this month, because I would just type in, especially with the squash meals, just type in an ingredient that I needed to be using from my pantry or my freezer or my garden, and then I would come up with a meal from that. So Pinterest and then Brendan Brazier's Vega website, which I will link below, were really my main resources for October. So that's how it's ending up. I will be coming back, hopefully tomorrow, because there is, like I said, preparation that needs to go into the No Spend October. So this is the menu planning. Tomorrow I will talk to you about the things that I needed to buy, non-food, that were relevant to preparing for No Spend October as well, and just kind of my final preparations for that. And then it's go time. So thanks again for watching, you guys. I will talk to you soon.